The day began like any other. The sun rose over the cities of Earth, painting the clouds in orange and gold. People went to work, children rushed to schools, and the world moved as it always did, unaware that everything was about to change forever. At 9:47 a.m., it started with a sound. Not loud, not even clear, just a low, strange hum that came from the sky. It vibrated through the air, through glass, through bones. Birds began flying in wild circles, as if trying to escape something unseen. Dogs barked endlessly. Radios went silent. No one knew it then, but that was the moment the invasion began. Across the world, strange lights appeared, tiny at first, like stars glowing in daylight. Then they multiplied, spreading across the sky in perfect, unnatural patterns. Some thought it was a new satellite launch. Others believed it was a natural event, auroras maybe. But soon the patterns began to move. Sharp turns, impossible speeds, forming symbols that no one could recognize. In New York, people stopped their cars and stared. In Tokyo, the power grid flickered. In London, the internet slowed to a crawl. And in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, a communication satellite, one of Earth's oldest, stopped sending signals. Then another. Then all of them. The world went dark, not in light but in connection. Phones died. News stopped. The voice of humanity went silent. At the same moment, in a military control center buried under the mountains of Colorado, alarms blared. "Unidentified objects entering low orbit," shouted an officer. "How many?" asked General Hayes. The answer came with shaking hands. "Too many to count, sir." On the giant radar screen, hundreds of red dots appeared, descending slowly, surrounding the planet like a cage. The general stared at the screen, his face pale. "Tell the world leaders. Tell everyone! This is not a drill." In space, cameras captured the first clear image. The object was massive, a ship the size of a city, made of dark metal that reflected no light. Its surface moved like liquid, constantly shifting, almost alive. Behind it came hundreds more, forming a silent fleet. They didn't broadcast a signal, didn't send a greeting, didn't respond to any call. They just waited. Then one ship, the largest, sent out a single pulse. It wasn't a beam or a weapon. It was a wave of light that covered the Earth's sky. The blue faded. Clouds vanished. Day turned into an eerie silver glow. Every screen, every monitor, every piece of glass flickered and showed the same thing. A face. It wasn't human. Its skin was pale and metallic, with eyes like burning steel. When it spoke, the voice echoed directly in people's minds, not through sound but through thought. "This planet now belongs to the Krael Dominion. Your species will surrender its technology, its resources and its control. Resistance will lead to extinction." No one could speak. No one could believe it. For the first time in history, all of humanity heard the same words at once, and realized they were not alone in the universe. In the White House, the president stood in silence as advisors argued around him. "We don't know what they want. They just told us what they want. Maybe we can negotiate." "With what?" "They've already taken our satellites." Outside, the people were screaming, praying, recording, hiding, all at once. The world was in chaos, and the sky was no longer blue. Meanwhile, deep under London, Dr. Meera Patel, an astrophysicist, sat in front of a glowing screen. She had spent years studying strange signals from deep space, dismissed by everyone as noise. Now she was comparing those signals to the energy readings from the alien ships. Her hands trembled when she saw it, the same pattern, the same pulse. These weren't random invaders. They had been watching Earth for decades. They had been preparing. She whispered to herself, "They've been here all along." Back above the planet, the Krael ships began to move. A single beam of white light descended from one of them, touching the ground in the middle of the Sahara Desert. The sand started to rise, swirling like a storm, forming a massive structure, a tower of metal and energy, pulsing with alien power. The Krael were building something permanent. General Hayes watched the satellite feed and clenched his fists. "They're not visiting," he said quietly. "They're settling. For the next 12 hours, humanity could do nothing but watch. Every government, every military, every scientist tried to send messages, warnings, or peace offers, all unanswered. Then, at midnight, a second broadcast came. The same face, the same cold voice. You have 24 hours to surrender. After that, the cleansing begins, and then silence again. People everywhere looked up at the sky. Some prayed, some cried. Some simply stared at the strange lights above, unable to believe what they were seeing. Children asked their parents if it was the end of the world. Parents had no answer. The stars that had once given humans hope now looked like eyes, cold, unblinking eyes of something far beyond their control. But somewhere, in a small underground command center, a man named Commander Ellis stood before a blank screen, his jaw tight, his heart steady. He whispered, "If they want a war, they'll get one." The sun never truly rose the next morning. The sky was still covered in the cold silver haze left by the Krael ships. It wasn't day or night. It was something in between, like the world had forgotten how to shine. Everywhere on Earth, people waited for the end, for surrender, or for someone to fight back. In silence, the world held its breath. Inside an underground command center in Colorado, General Hayes stood before a glowing map of Earth. Red dots filled the screen, alien ships stationed across every continent. He turned to his officers. "Status?" "Still no response from the Krael," said one. "No attacks yet," another added. Hayes narrowed his eyes. "Then they're waiting for us to break first." He looked at the digital clock on the wall. The countdown continued. 17 hours until the Krael's deadline. Meanwhile, news stations played old footage, recorded before the satellites went dark. People across the planet saw the same words on every emergency channel: "Stand by. Do not panic. Humanity is united." For the first time in history, every nation agreed on something. The United Nations became something new. The Earth Defense Council. Flags meant nothing now. Borders didn't matter. The world had one enemy. In a hidden lab beneath Geneva, scientists were working without rest. Dr. Meera Patel, who had discovered the Krael signals, stood in front of a holographic display showing the alien ship's shield pattern. "It bends energy around itself," she explained, her voice tired but sharp. "No weapon we have can penetrate it directly." One of the generals leaned forward. "So what do we do?" She looked at him with cold eyes. "We hit them anyway." The room went silent. Dr. Patel continued, "If they think we will surrender easily, they're wrong. Even a failed strike will show them what kind of species we are." Hours later, the plan was ready. The US, Russia, China, and India all agreed. They would launch a combined strike on one of the smaller Krael ships over the Atlantic. If it worked, humanity would finally have hope. If it failed, there would be no second chance. In the launch room, Commander Ellis stood beside General Hayes. Ellis watched the countdown on the screen. "T-minus 10 minutes, he whispered. "Sir, we don't even know if this will touch them." Hayes nodded. "We're not trying to touch them, son. We're trying to remind them who they're dealing with." Across the world, submarines surfaced, missile silos opened, and fighter jets roared into the grey sky. Each carried a nuclear payload, the strongest weapons mankind had ever built. Dr. Patel watched the screens flicker. "All systems ready," she said softly. Her assistant hesitated. "What if we just make them angry?" Patel's eyes darkened. "They already are." At 3:00 p.m. UTC, the command was given. Launch authorized. Dozens of warheads shot into the sky, trailing fire like meteors in reverse. People on every continent looked up and saw the streaks of light, the human answer to the invasion. For the first time in 2 days, there was hope. High above the atmosphere, the Krael ships didn't move. They didn't dodge. They didn't react. They simply watched. The missiles reached their targets. For a moment, the entire sky exploded in blinding white light. The world shook. Cameras in orbit captured massive shockwaves rippling through the clouds. Then, silence, the smoke cleared. And the Krael ships were still there, untouched. In the control room, everyone froze. General Hayes clenched his fists. "No effect?" A voice from the radar station shouted, "Wait, one of them. One's losing altitude." On screen, one alien ship flickered. Its energy shield blinked red, then collapsed. The ship began to fall, burning through the atmosphere like a dying star. Cheers erupted in the command center. They had done it. Humanity had struck back. People around the world screamed, cried, hugged strangers. Earth had won its first victory. But the celebration lasted only 32 seconds. Without warning, the fallen ship exploded in midair, and the shockwave reached space. Every other Krael ship turned crimson. Their silent formation shifted, like predators awakening. General Hayes looked at the radar screen.
God help us.
They're moving. In less than a minute, beams of light shot down from the alien fleet. One hit the Pacific Ocean. The water boiled instantly. Another struck the desert, turning sand into glass. A third hit a city, and when the smoke cleared, there was nothing left. Across the planet, hundreds of lights rained down. Entire power grids vanished. Skyscrapers melted. Airplanes fell from the sky. The Earth Defense Council lost contact with half its bases in under 10 minutes. The retaliation had begun. In Geneva, Dr. Patel's lab shook violently. Lights flickered. Sirens screamed. Her assistant cried, "They're wiping us out!" Patel stared at her screens, then saw something strange. A data signal. A pulse inside the chaos. She isolated it. It wasn't coming from the Krael. It was coming from Earth's own system. A voice, weak but clear, echoed through the static. "Don't surrender. We know their weakness." Patel's eyes widened. "Who is this?" she whispered. No answer. Just the repeating pulse. "Don't surrender. We know their weakness." In the burning ruins of the world, Commander Ellis stood before a shattered window, watching the night sky burn red. The enemy had answered. And now Earth was at war. The world burned. Skies once blue now glowed with red fire. Cities that had stood for centuries vanished in seconds. The Krael had answered humanity's first strike, and their revenge came like a storm that would never end. It wasn't a war anymore. It was punishment. In New York, glass melted like wax as beams of white light carved through the skyline. The Statue of Liberty stood for a moment, glowing bright, then turned to dust. In China, mountains crumbled under invisible pressure. In Europe, oceans rose, pulled upward by strange gravitational waves. Everywhere, people ran, but there was nowhere to go. Deep under the mountains of Colorado, Commander Ellis and General Hayes watched the disaster unfold through flickering screens. Satellite feed after satellite feed went dark. "Europe is gone. Tokyo's offline," a technician shouted. General Hayes slammed his fist against the table. "They're wiping the planet clean." Commander Ellis took a slow breath. "Then we fight from what's left." He turned toward the map. Half the screen blacked out. Only small, glowing dots showed where human resistance still lived. Hayes nodded. "We'll make every last second count." Across the world, communication lines crackled with chaos. Military units called for help. Scientists screamed over static, and leaders begged for mercy. But no one could reach the Krael. The invaders didn't talk. They didn't demand. They simply destroyed. In the middle of all this, Dr. Meera Patel sat alone in her ruined lab beneath Geneva. The ceiling shook. Dust fell from the vents. But her eyes were locked on one small signal still flashing on her screen, the mysterious voice from before. "Don't surrender. We know their weakness," the words repeated again and again. She pressed her headset. "Identify yourself."
Who are you?
No answer. Only a low humming tone that rose and fell like a heartbeat. Then for the first time, another line of text appeared. "You are not the first world they've destroyed." Patel froze. She typed quickly. "What do you mean?"
Who are you?
The response came slowly, each word appearing as if typed by an unseen hand. "We are what remains." Meanwhile, in the ruins of Washington, D.C., survivors gathered in a half-destroyed subway tunnel. Among them was a young soldier named Lewis, his face covered in ash. He looked up at the trembling ceiling. "Is it over?" he asked softly. An older officer shook his head. "No, son. This is just the beginning." Above them, alien drones searched the ruins, scanning for life. Their red lights swept across the streets, leaving silence wherever they passed. But one drone suddenly stopped, then turned away, ignoring the tunnel completely. The officer smiled faintly. They can't see underground. Not yet. Back in Colorado, the Earth Defense Command was barely holding together. General Hayes stared at a live radar feed, showing something new, strange dark spheres forming around the Krael ships. "What are they doing?" he muttered. Dr. Patel's voice crackled over the damaged radio. "They're not just attacking. They're harvesting energy from Earth's magnetic field. They're turning the planet into fuel." Hayes' expression hardened. "Then we have even less time than we thought." Hours passed. Humanity's armies fell silent. The sky turned black as smoke covered the stars. But in the darkness, small pockets of resistance started to form. Secret bunkers, old shelters, hidden tunnels. The humans began to fight in shadows. And among them, Commander Ellis became a symbol. He didn't hide. He sent one message across every remaining radio channel on Earth. "If you can hear me, this is Ellis. We are not finished. We will fight back. You are not alone." Across cities and wastelands, survivors heard that voice. And for the first time since the invasion began, hope returned. In one of those bunkers, Dr. Patel finally decoded the strange signal. It wasn't coming from space. It was buried inside one of Earth's old satellites, deactivated years ago. The signal wasn't human, but it also wasn't Krael. It used a different kind of data pattern, organic, emotional, alive. Patel whispered, "Who are you?" The voice finally spoke, clear and calm. "We are the Seraph. The Krael destroyed our world, but they made a mistake. We survived inside their systems. We know how to hurt them." Patel's eyes widened. "Then help us." The reply came fast. "We will, but you must stay hidden. They can't know we exist." At that same moment, the Krael mothership hovered silently above the planet's orbit. Inside, towering figures of silver metal stood around a pulsating core. One of them spoke in a deep, rumbling voice. "The humans resist longer than expected." Another replied coldly, "They will break." "They always do." The leader, taller than the rest, his eyes glowing like molten stars, looked down at Earth and said, "Then let them see what happens to those who defy the Krael dominion." The ship's core brightened, and seconds later, a beam of energy struck the moon. The world watched as the moon cracked, huge pieces breaking off, drifting into space like dying embers. Tides shifted. Earth's sky turned blood red. General Hayes whispered, "They just broke the moon." Ellis clenched his jaw. "Then it's time we break something of theirs." In the ashes of the old world, the resistance began to rise. A handful of soldiers, a scientist with a signal, and a mysterious ally hidden within the machines of the enemy. The war for Earth had truly begun. Weeks passed since the Krael shattered the moon. The world was covered in red dust. The oceans pulled back, the nights grew colder, and the stars seemed fewer every day. But in the darkness of ruined cities, humanity refused to die. They were broken, scattered, but alive. And in the silence a whisper began to spread. The resistance still fights. Beneath the ruins of Colorado, Commander Ellis led what was left of the Earth Defense Command. Their control room had no windows, only flickering screens and maps full of red zones. 37 survivors reported from Europe. 50 in Asia, maybe 200 worldwide, said a soldier, reading from a tablet. Ellis nodded slowly. "Then we start with that. Every survivor counts." General Hayes looked tired, older. "We can't fight them with guns, Ellis," Ellis replied, voice steady. "Then we'll fight with what they can't predict, human stubbornness." Meanwhile, far below the city of Geneva, Dr. Meera Patel was still alive. Her underground lab had become the heart of the Resistance's science unit. Her screens glowed with strange symbols, the alien code sent by the mysterious Seraph. Her assistant Jonah leaned over. "Do you trust them?" Patel sighed. "I don't trust anyone who hides behind machines. But they saved us once. Maybe they can do it again." The signal flickered to life and the mechanical voice spoke. "We found a weakness in the Krael design. Their shields react to a certain element, unstable, volatile. You call it Element 47, Patel frowned. That's impossible. That was banned decades ago, too dangerous to use. Dangerous, the voice said softly, is what you need now. That night, Commander Ellis received Patel's message. He stood before the last working holographic table, watching her face appear in static light. Element 47? He asked. Yes, she replied. It was used in old nuclear reactors. We abandoned it years ago, but it's everywhere, buried in waste sites, forgotten by history. Hayes raised an eyebrow. You're saying trash will save us? Patel smiled faintly. Maybe. The aliens' technology can't absorb its energy. It burns straight through their shields. Ellis leaned forward. Then we find it. Every last piece. In the ruins of Nevada, an old mining facility lay buried under dust. Ellis led a small team there. 4 soldiers, 1 scientist, and a hope as fragile as glass. The tunnels were cold and silent, metal twisted from past battles. Lewis, the young soldier from DC, carried a scanner that beeped faintly as they moved deeper. He whispered, "Sir, the readings are strong down here." Ellis nodded. "Stay sharp. If this stuff can kill them, they'll be looking for it too." As they reached the main chamber, they found glowing containers, dozens of them, filled with dark silver dust. Element 47. It shimmered like starlight trapped in metal. Jonah ran a quick scan. "This is it. It's pure." Before Ellis could answer, the ground trembled. Above them, something roared. Not human, not animal. Ellis shouted, "Drones! Take cover!" Alien drones burst through the roof, red lights flashing in the dark. Gunfire echoed. Explosions lit the tunnels. Lewis fired his weapon until the barrel glowed, shouting over the chaos, "They found us!" Jonah clutched one container and yelled, "We can't let them take it." Ellis grabbed the container and ordered, "Fall back! Seal the entrance!" The humans retreated as the mine collapsed behind them. Dust filled the air and the noise faded. When silence returned, the resistance had their prize, and their first real weapon. Back at the underground base, Patel analyzed the samples. The readings were incredible. The energy inside Element 47 reacted violently to Krael radiation. "If we can weaponize this," she whispered, "we might actually stand a chance." Ellis entered the lab, his uniform torn and face marked with ash. "Can you build it?" he asked. Patel looked up. "Maybe, but we'll need power, more than we have left." Ellis thought for a moment. "Then we'll take it from them. Far above Earth, aboard the Krael mothership, the alien leaders were watching. Their glowing eyes flickered as they spoke in their cold, metallic language. The humans gather remnants. They search for forbidden power. "They will fail," another hissed. But the leader raised his hand. "Perhaps, but this species resists beyond reason. Monitor them closely and destroy anything that moves." 3 days later, in a hidden valley in South America, the resistance built their first weapon, a cannon powered by Element 47. It was unstable, dangerous, and could explode at any moment. They called it the Phoenix. Dr. Patel stood beside the weapon, adjusting controls. "Once we fire this, there's no turning back." Ellis nodded. "Good, I don't want to turn back." The first test fired into the sky. A beam of white-blue light cut through the clouds, and for a moment the Krael ships flickered. Their shields rippled like water. Patel gasped. It worked! But their joy didn't last. Moments later, the ground shook violently. Dozens of alien ships changed direction, heading straight toward them. Jonah shouted, "They saw it!" "They're coming!" Ellis clenched his fists. "Then we hold the line. We made our move. Now it's their turn." As the Krael fleet descended, Dr. Patel received a final message from the mysterious voice. "You have begun the path. The Krael will come for you. But remember, they are not the true masters. What you fight now is only their shadow." Patel's eyes widened. "What do you mean?" The message ended in static. Above them, thunder rolled as the alien ships appeared. The next battle for Earth had begun. The resistance had done the impossible. They had built a weapon that could hurt the Krael. For the first time since the invasion began, the enemy bled. But victory came with a price. The Phoenix weapon's energy signal was powerful. Too powerful. The Krael saw it. They traced it. And now they were coming. Commander Ellis stood inside the resistance bunker beneath the Andes Mountains. Outside, the earth trembled under distant blasts. The Krael ships were getting closer every hour. "Status?" he asked, looking over the control table. Dr. Mira Patel's voice came through the radio. "The Phoenix is recharging, but we can't move it. It's tied into the mountain's power grid." Ellis frowned. "Then this place becomes our battlefield." He turned to his soldiers. "We hold until the last charge is ready. Then we fire again." Above the clouds, hundreds of Krael ships moved in perfect formation, silent, shining like blades. Their leader, known as the Arch Krael, stood in the command chamber of the mothership. His voice echoed like thunder. "The humans found forbidden energy. They must not reach the core. Prepare the drills." From the ship's undersides, enormous metal structures unfolded, giant drills powered by alien fire. Their target was not the humans. It was Earth itself. In Geneva, Dr. Patel watched satellite data with growing horror. "They're drilling," she whispered. Jonah, her assistant, looked confused. "Drilling? For what?" Patel zoomed in on the data. "The core. They're trying to reach the planet's molten heart." "But why?" She took a deep breath. "They're not trying to destroy Earth. They're trying to harvest it. The Krael wanted the planet's energy, the same life force that kept Earth alive. If they succeeded, the planet would collapse in on itself. Humanity wouldn't just die. The world would die with it." Commander Ellis listened to her message in silence. "Then we stop them," he said. General Hayes, standing beside him, shook his head. "How?" "We're outnumbered, outgunned, and half our systems are failing." Ellis looked at the Phoenix weapon glowing faintly in the corner of the bunker. "We have one weapon left, and one shot. That's all we need." He turned to his team. "We take the Phoenix straight into the field. We aim for their main drill. If we destroy that, they lose their link to the core." Night fell, though on Earth night and day no longer meant much. The sky was always red, the stars hidden behind the Krael fleet. Ellis led a convoy of armored vehicles up the mountain road, carrying the Phoenix on a heavy carrier. Dr. Patel rode beside him, checking her instruments. Jonah asked nervously, "How close do we need to be?" Patel didn't look up. "Close enough to touch their shields." Ellis smiled grimly. "Then we're getting very close." As they reached the ridge, they saw it, a monstrous drill stretching from the sky down into the earth, glowing with alien light. The ground shook around it, and the air vibrated with power. Soldiers whispered in awe and fear. Ellis raised his binoculars. "That's it. That's the heart of their plan." Patel adjusted the Phoenix controls. "We have one charge left. Once I fire it, the core reaction might chain across their entire fleet." Ellis nodded. "Then let's end this." But the Krael saw them coming. Dozens of ships turned and descended, their weapons blazing. Explosions ripped through the valley. "The earth caught fire," Ellis shouted. "Get the Phoenix in position, now!" Lewis, the young soldier, drove the carrier straight through the chaos, dodging falling debris. The weapon hummed, charging with blinding light. Patel yelled, 30 seconds until full power!" Jonah tried to help, but was thrown to the ground by an explosion. He coughed, bleeding, and shouted, "They're closing in!" Ellis looked at Patel. "Do it now!" Patel hesitated. "If I fire now, the reaction could reach us too." Ellis gave a small smile. "Then let's hope it's quick." She pressed the trigger. A beam of pure white energy shot upward, slicing through the clouds, cutting straight into the alien drill. The light spread, faster than lightning, brighter than the sun. The Krael drill cracked open, its structure folding like paper. The beam continued, hitting the mothership above. For the first time, the great ship screamed, a sound like tearing metal and dying stars. But the Phoenix wasn't done. Its unstable power began to spiral. Patel's instruments flashed red. "It's overloading. We have to get out!" Ellis shouted. "Everyone fall back!" They ran as the mountain began to collapse behind them. The Phoenix exploded in a brilliant wave of energy that reached the sky, and the Krael fleet started to fall. One by one, their ships lost power, crashing into the oceans, deserts, and forests below. The sky turned blue for the first time in months. It looked like victory, But as the dust settled, Patel's radio crackled again, the mysterious voice. "You have done it. The Krael are broken, but you have awakened something older, something deeper," Patel frowned. "What do you mean?" The voice continued. "The Krael were slaves. You have freed them, and now their masters will come." The signal ended. Ellis stood on the mountainside watching the sky. Falling alien ships burned like comets, lighting up the night. Lewis walked beside him, breathing hard. "Did we win, sir?" Ellis didn't answer. He just looked at the stars, where strange new lights were already forming, faint, distant, and moving fast. He whispered, "No, soldier. This was only the first war. The sky was quiet for the first time in months. The burning wreckage of Krael ships drifted across the horizon like falling stars. Earth had survived, but barely. Cities lay in ruins. The oceans glowed with strange light, and the air carried the scent of ash and victory. People came out from underground shelters, blinking against the sunlight they thought they'd never see again. For many, the war was over. But for Commander Ellis and Dr. Meera Patel, something still felt wrong. Too easy. Too quiet. At the resistance base in the Andes, the survivors worked to rebuild communications. Jonah, now bandaged and limping, adjusted the radio signals. "We're picking up transmissions from Europe. They're saying the Krael fleets are falling everywhere." Patel nodded, still studying her readings. "Yes, but their cores aren't destroyed. They're shutting down." Ellis frowned. "You mean they're retreating?" She shook her head. "No, it's like they lost connection to something. Like they were cut off from their power source." The commander crossed his arms. "If they were cut off, then who was supplying them?" Patel looked up slowly. "That's what I'm afraid to find out." In orbit, the remains of the Krael mothership floated in silence. Inside, the once glorious alien corridors were dark, frozen and filled with drifting smoke. Bodies of Krael soldiers floated weightlessly, their armor cracked, their eyes dim. But deep within the ship's command core, something still lived. A small, glowing crystal pulsed slowly, a heartbeat of alien light. Then a whisper echoed through the corridors. "Connection lost. Requesting new directive." The crystal flickered, sending a faint signal into the blackness of space. A call for help. On Earth, weeks passed. Humanity began to rebuild. Global networks came back online, and cities lit up again. People celebrated in the streets, raising flags and fires in memory of those they lost. News channels called it the Great Victory. Children drew pictures of the Phoenix weapon and the soldiers who saved them. But for those who fought in the war, victory felt hollow. Ellis stood at a memorial wall in New York, reading the names of his fallen team. Lewis joined him quietly. "They say the Krael are all gone now." Ellis didn't answer. His eyes were fixed on the sky. "They said that about the storm too," he muttered. Meanwhile, in a hidden laboratory beneath Geneva, Dr. Patel studied a strange object recovered from a Krael wreck. It was a fragment of the same glowing crystal seen inside the mothership. It pulsed faintly, like a living heart. Jonah entered the lab, carrying data tablets. "It's reacting to something," he said. Patel nodded. "Yes, but not from here. It's listening." "Listening to what?" She looked at the ceiling, then beyond it, toward the stars. To whoever created them. Suddenly the lights flickered. The crystal brightened. The monitors filled with alien symbols, repeating the same phrase again and again. "Signal received." "Origin confirmed." Patel's eyes widened. "They're not gone. They're being called home." At the same moment, satellites around Earth detected something moving beyond the moon, a massive object, silent and cold, drifting toward the planet. The first images came through hours later. Ellis and Patel watched the screen together. It wasn't a ship. It was bigger, like a floating city made of metal and light. Ellis whispered, "What is that?" Patel replied, her voice trembling. "It's a command station, a hive. The one that controlled the Krael." Ellis clenched his fists. "So we didn't win the war." Patel nodded grimly. "We just woke up their masters." In orbit, the object stopped just beyond Earth's shadow. Panels opened, revealing a golden sphere at its center, pulsing with the same light as the Krael crystals. A new voice, deep and cold, echoed through space. The slaves are broken. The seed world resisted. Begin reclamation. Moments later, every dead Krael ship began to move. Pieces of wreckage lifted from oceans and deserts, forming together like living metal. They weren't dead. They were transforming. On Earth, alarms blared across every base. Ellis shouted orders into the comms. All defense systems online. This isn't over. But before anyone could react, the sky darkened again. Thousands of glowing fragments fell from orbit like a new kind of rain. Where they landed, the ground shook, and from the soil rose new machines, more advanced and terrifying than before. These weren't Krael soldiers. These were something else, faster, stronger, made of liquid metal and light. Patel's scanners went wild. These aren't invaders. They're harvesters. Ellis grabbed his rifle. Then let's make sure they don't harvest us. The first battle of the new war began right there, on the smoking plains of South America. Explosions lit the night. The sky, once clear, burned red again. As chaos spread, Patel sent one last message into space to whoever is out there. If you can hear this, Earth is not lost. We are still here. She didn't know who might receive it, human, alien, or something else. But far beyond the solar system, a faint signal blinked in response. Someone, or something, had heard her. The world was burning again. Only weeks after the fall of the Krael, Earth faced something far worse. The new machines, tall, silver, and alive with light, moved across continents like a storm. They didn't attack cities for destruction. They were collecting metal, data, energy, even people. Everywhere they went, they left behind strange towers that pulsed with golden light. From orbit, they looked like veins spreading across the planet. Earth was being rewritten. Commander Ellis stood on the balcony of the resistance base in New Santiago, staring at the horizon. The sky shimmered faintly, not with fire, but with golden mist, like a sunrise that never ended. Dr. Patel joined him, tablet in hand. "They're changing the atmosphere," she said quietly. Ellis frowned. "For what purpose?" She hesitated. "To prepare it for them." He looked at her. "The makers," Patel nodded slowly. "The true masters of the Krael, the ones who created them." In the control room, Jonah was monitoring satellite feeds. He pointed at the screen. "Something's coming through the rift." Everyone turned to look. High above Earth, a tear in space slowly opened. A spiral of light and shadow. From within it, massive shapes began to emerge. Each one looked like a city made of stars, floating through the void. Patel whispered, "That's not a fleet. That's a civilization." Ellis clenched his jaw. "And it's heading straight for Earth." Hours later, every communication channel on the planet went silent. Then one voice spoke. It wasn't human. It wasn't Krael. It was something older, calm, emotionless, yet full of power. "Seed World 3.4, you have exceeded your design. Your resistance has been recorded. Your time of independence is over." Ellis's team listened in horror. Patel spoke softly. "They're talking to us, like we're an experiment." Jonah's eyes widened. "Seed World, what does that mean?" Patel's voice trembled. "It means Earth was created by them. We were part of their plan." The truth hit like thunder. Humanity hadn't just defeated an alien army. They had defied their creators. The makers began to descend. Their ships didn't land. They merged with the planet's surface. Wherever they touched the ground, technology and nature fused together. Forests turned into metal forests. Rivers turned into glowing streams of energy. The planet was transforming, becoming something new. Ellis slammed his fist on the table. "They're rebuilding Earth in their image." Patel replied, "No, they're reclaiming it." In one of the captured towers, the Krael were awakening again, but this time different. Their armor cracked open, and golden light poured from inside. Their voices were no longer mechanical. "We are free," they said. "The makers come for all." They turned their weapons, not on humans, but on the towers. Patel gasped. "They're fighting against the makers." Ellis nodded. "Then maybe we have one last chance." An uneasy alliance formed. Human soldiers and rogue Krael units stood side by side in the deserts of Africa, where the largest Maker Tower rose toward the sky. The plan was simple: destroy the central core before the transformation reached Earth's core. Patel worked furiously on the controls of a new weapon built from both human and Krael technology. Jonah asked, "What do we even call this thing?" She smiled faintly. "Hope." Ellis gathered his team. "This is it. We either end them here, or Earth ends with us." The battle that followed was unlike anything seen before. Beams of light crossed the sky as energy storms tore through the ground. Krael drones flew beside human jets, fighting against the shining constructs of the Makers. The world itself shook as the great tower began to awaken. Ellis led the charge, driving through waves of golden fire. Patel shouted over the comms, "We're in range! Firing in 10 seconds! Do it!" Ellis roared. A beam of white and gold shot upward, piercing the heart of the Maker Tower. For a moment, everything went silent. Then the tower shattered, a shockwave of light spreading across the sky. The golden mist faded. The Maker's ships stopped moving, and the rift in the sky began to close. But victory came at a cost. Ellis's team was caught in the blast. When Patel opened her eyes, the sky was clear again. No ships, no machines, only quiet. Jonah helped her to her feet. "Did we win?" She looked around. The land was scarred but alive. "The Makers are gone, or sleeping. For now," she said softly. Then her tablet beeped one last time. A message appeared, not human, not Krael, but written in perfect English. "You have chosen your own path. The experiment continues. We will watch." Patel's face went pale. "They didn't die. They're just waiting." Months later, Earth slowly began to heal. Green returned to the forests. The oceans cleared, but strange metallic mountains now dotted the horizon, silent reminders of what had happened. Commander Ellis never returned. Some said he died in the blast. Others said he was taken by the Makers themselves. Dr. Patel continued her research, determined to understand what they really were. Every night she looked at the stars, wondering if they were still watching. One night her radio crackled with a faint signal. Her voice, distant but familiar, whispered through the static, "Patel, it's Ellis, I've seen them. They're not gods. They're afraid." The signal cut off. Patel stared at the radio, eyes wide. "Afraid of what?" She looked up at the night sky. One of the stars flickered, then moved.